Getting into the top outright bets here for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Starting out with our boy Andrew Putnam at 25-1. Now, if we just look at the snapshot of Andrew Putnam, we can kind of see already why he's a good play. Does have good course history with the top 10 place finish last year. 3 straight make cuts at this tournament. Key stat-wise could be a little bit better, but across the board, like this is nothing that we would worry about too much. Recent form has been spectacular, and we could even go back further. So let me just click on recent form in general here. Get over his last 15 starts in here. Like we can see the form has just been spectacular no matter what. Been finding ways to make cuts. We have 3 top 5 finishes mixed in there at 11th and a 12th. So like the form has been there for Andrew Putnam, and now this is going to be a course that's a good fit for him as well. The key stats didn't exactly say that too much, but at the same time, it didn't suggest that it's going to be a bad course for him. And if we pull up his course length rank in the field, he ranks out 8th in the field on these shorter tracks that we're going to get this week at AT&T Pebble Beach. It's top 12 in the field on these greens. Location-wise, California courses, I'm not too worried about it too much, but 35th there, Still nothing alarming there. And then course style, seaside courses, ranks out top 20 in the field there. So like really nothing alarming at all. Andrew Putnam is looking like a guy that could finally put it all together. And on top of that, he does have course ties to California, which is also encouraging as well. We see players trending in the right direction and finally get a win. To me, that'd be Andrew Putnam, but also this next player. So Maverick McNeely's current odds are 20-1, which, if you see Maverick McNeely and you're not familiar with his game, that might worry you. But once again, if we look at those same kind of key characteristics of this tournament, looking at that specialist data, we can see really ranks out well there. Green-wise, top 5 in the field. Length-wise, top 5 in the field. Specialist as a whole, top 10. Course style, 3rd best in the field. And then location, still top 20 in the field. Also has California ties as well. We get into stuff like recent form as well. We can see 1 miscut in there, 2 miscuts, okay? Besides that, has been playing some really spectacular golf. Sure, his last start, 31st place finish, but prior to that, 7th, 27th, 10th, 18th, 12th, 10th, like he had been playing well in tournaments that you would say aren't the best courses for him. And now we get a setup that's going to be very good for him, especially across all 3 courses. Like they should all be good courses for him. He's a player that makes a lot of sense. We go ahead and look at the key stats here. Ranks out really well in all 3 of them. And if we want to take it further, include ball striking in there, we can see as a whole hasn't been striking the ball too well. But if we look at his last 5 events, it's actually been a little bit better. So there is improvement there. We look at his strokes gained putting over the past 5 events, been top 20 in the field. Look at his strokes gained total over the past 5 events, top 12 in the field. So really just coming in as a spectacular play as well, a spectacular bet as well. So a player that I think everyone's going to be on today or this week, as they should be, is going to be Joel Dahmen at 40-1 odds. These are just really good numbers for him this week. Now, he did withdraw from his last event, but it wasn't because of injury. It was because he had a baby, I believe a son. I didn't check that out, but he had the birth of a child. So he has the baby narrative baked in there as well. Strokes gained, dad life. And with that, looking like a golfer we want to be going out of our way to play. Now, for him, his ball striking has been a little bit poor. And I pull up ball striking because total driving and ball striking are going to be stats that we want to be looking at this week as well. So like as a whole, he's not the best total driver. So that does kind of hurt him in ball striking as well. But as a whole, like not terrible. Like we would take these stats, but if we just dial in for the key stats for this week, strokes gained total, effective scoring, which is huge. And this is just the measure of basically a golfer's ability not to mess up, basically not to hurt you, 2nd in the field. And so like the key stats are nothing that suggests he's going to be a terrible play. We look at the course history this week, spectacular stuff. 3 straight make cuts, a 6th and the 14th place finish. Obviously likes this track. We go and get into the recent form. Oh my gosh, the recent form has been so good. Recent form 1, his last start, 5th. Recent form 2, 9th, 3rd, 16th, 37th, 13th, like just incredible recent form. This is something we would chase a lot of the time. And then looking at the specialist data, like dialing it in, we can see greens, not terrible, nothing alarming there. Course length, 1st in the field on short tracks. Okay, like that just means like he plays a lot better on these shorter tracks. Look at course location, not the best, California, but we did just see that course history at this tournament. He does do well. And we look at the specialist overall top 20. We look at tournament style, 14th. But the thing that I find interesting is that this is a Pro-Am event. Okay. With it being a Pro-Am event, I think just Joel Dahmen he does all these interviews and whatnot. He's a very personable player, easy to get along with. And I think kind of with him being like malleable with his personality, he can relate to everyone, be a fun guy with everyone. That is what benefits him on a tournament like this. He's not going to get paired with someone that's going to annoy him and hurt his golf game. He is used to that already. And so I think that's a big factor when looking at this week. And that's probably why a lot of people are going to be on Jordan Spieth this week. I think Joel Dahmen is going to be a player that a lot of people are going to be on, but it's a very logical one. This feels like kind of a must bet situation, especially at 40-1 to get a top 10 play in the 9-5 mile at 41. That is pretty appealing to me. All right, so Jordan Spieth, we could easily bet at 11-1 as well. He is coming on off of that first round lead / miscut at the Sony Open. He jinxed himself there. Okay, it wasn't even like surprising, I guess, that he missed the cut, but he made the quote at the Sony Open. I'll try to pull it up here actually. So yeah, here's his quote. "I'm confident relative to the other time periods I've been off to similar starts." And this is kind of referring to him being pretty bad up until like last year, up until really the core of last year, and I guess a year and a half ago too. But there's times, 3, 4, even 2 years ago where he was just so inconsistent as a player. So he's kind of referring back to that. And so he's pretty much saying this is a really good place to be. And this is for the Sony Open, remember. He says, "I believe I can go out and shoot 5 or 6 under each day." And he says not to say that that'll happen, but other times he'd be sitting here and just trying to hold on. And honestly, to me, I kind of see that as a good thing. I see that as a wake-up call to him. Okay, he got a little bit too comfortable with the game of golf and it bit him, pretty poorly. That was his first tournament, he said, in which he's had the lead in the first round and then just missed the cut. So I think mentally that was a good thing for him, because he probably should have been trying to play it safe a little bit more so than being hyper aggressive like he was. So all in all, we know that Jordan Spieth is going to be a good play. The reason why he's getting knocked and not number one in the 9-5 mile is simply that missed cut. 9-5 mile really focus on recent form, okay? And as a whole, still pretty strong recent form. But looking at Jordan Spieth specialist-wise, number one on seaside style courses. Specialist average 4th in the field, so really good stuff there. And this is if we go further, like bunkers, course designer, fairway width. If we include all that stuff in there, that's where he's popping out as a top 5 specialist. Now, if we look at Jordan's recent form, what are we liking the most? We are liking those upside finishes, okay? 12 starts go 7th, 14 starts go 2nd, 2 events go 13th, 4 events go 13th, 7 and 8 events 8th and 10th. So we're liking that upside. But what we really like about Jordan as a play this week is going to be 2 things. His key stats, he is checking all the boxes stat fit wise. The biggest thing that we have to worry about is his total driving. But if we see over his last 5, been much better. So, kind of don't have to worry about that. Same thing with ball striking. As a whole, not the best, but over his last 5 starts has been extremely good there as well. Then if we look at course history is going to be phenomenal. Obviously, he just dominates this course. 2nd, 3rd, 9th, 45th. And I always talk about a guy trending in the right direction in terms of like either form or course history. We love to see that it's getting better each year. And the fact that Jordan was able to play well at this tournament in years in which he was playing poorly, his game was inconsistent, that's highly encouraging to me. So yeah, Jordan Spieth does make a lot of sense as an outright bet this week as well. And then just touching on Viktor Hovland real quick, only one start here 3 years ago, had a 38th place finish there. He is the best staff in the field, is in the best recent form in the field as well. Only ranks out top 7 in the 9-5 mile, a little bit shocking there. Doesn't rank out the best specialist wise, but as a whole, going to be a pretty strong play. Like it wouldn't be shocking to see Viktor Hovland in contention. And right now, actually, DK Sportsbook has Matt Fitzpatrick at 11-1 as the best odds to win. And I would agree with that as well. Let's see if the data does. We haven't model wise, but let me pull up the betting tool, which more or less focuses on upside only. It doesn't care about, making a cut. So win rank, yes, it goes Fitzpatrick, Jordan, McNeely, Hoagie. Okay, so the 9-5 data is agreeing with that. And I do too. Just on paper, it does look right. You look at the recent form, just been spectacular across the board. 1 bad start 4 events ago, 2 bad starts, including recent form 7 as well. But if we go back over his past 15 starts, just been pretty darn spectacular. It's really just going to be tough not to love Matt Fitzpatrick this week. So stat fit wise could be a little bit better. He's hurting in that key stat number 4, which is birdie to bogey ratio. So let's just dive into that a little bit more. And I think that just boils down to playing in some events in which recently it was tougher to score on. And so that's kind of why he's popping up there. Pretty good in bogey avoidance as a whole as a player. Birdie or better percentage we can see has been strong just across the board there as well. We look at the specialist data, top 10 in length, short tracks, and then greens as well. Location wise, perfectly fine with that. Top 30 in the field. Let's look at the scoring as well. So top 20 there, like really just coming in as a really strong play. We can see why he is going to be someone we should be betting on even at 11-1 odds. And then one more player that was kind of shocking to me that was popping up was Sheamus Power. And then we're going to get into 3 kind of long shot bets for you. And as we can see, I like DK Sportsbook, like Sheamus Power. Got him as the 5th most likely to win. And Vegas is getting him about a 4.5% chance to win at 19-1 odds. And they're valuing him as the 4th most likely to win. But looking at it, he's just coming in as a very strong play. We can see the worries with him are going to be length, location, scoring. But if you look at greens, if we look at some other stuff that are mixed in there, fairway width, par rank, rough amount, rough length, like we start to include all this other data in there, then yes, we can see why he's popping up top 10 specialist wise. So if he struggles, I do think we'll come back to really the length, which is kind of surprising to me. I did not see that coming there with him. But he is someone that should be a good play regardless. Now, if we look at the recent form as well, we can see kind of spotty-ish, okay? Last 2 starts, we wish those were better, 45th and 30th, okay? Before that, 8th and 4th. So you like that there from him. Key stat-wise really popping up there. We can see a lot of green just in there as a whole. With him as well, it's going to be birdie to bogey ratio. Going to be a slight worry there. But other than that, really looking good. You look at strokes gained total, 2nd in the field, and then effective scoring, 6th in the field. So pretty good stuff there from him. If we look at total driving as a whole, not the best, but if you look at over his past 5 starts, definitely better there. And I would say course history is his biggest selling point. He also had a top 10 finish, miscut, and 38th. If I had to choose one player, from the top end, like Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Sheamus Power, I guess if I had to choose 2 of those players to chop off, it would be Hovland and Power. I feel much more comfortable with Fitzpatrick and Spieth, especially their ability to win. So Thomas Dietrich, we can still get at 45-1 odds, which I think are going to be some really good odds for him as a player. Now, the biggest worry with someone like Thomas Dietrich is the simple fact that we don't have any course history on him. That's my biggest worry. One of the bigger trends that I saw in both GPP winning lineups and just tournament winners last year was the simple fact that they did have course history. Whether it was good course history or not, the thing is they did have course history. So that is making me a little bit weary of Thomas Dietrich as an outright bet. But as we can see, top 6 in stat rank, and then top 5 in recent form rank as well. Like just across the board, we can see has been playing some extremely good golf really for his past 15 starts, past 5 starts, and past 10 starts. He's a top 5 specialists in the field as well. He is someone that wouldn't be shocking to see put it all together. But once again, I kind of do worry about the fact that he just doesn't have that course history. Now we're going to get into 2 more really long shot bets, and I'm going to save my favorites-ish, the one that makes me the most worried about, the one that would probably hurt my credibility the most if he struggles at the end. So I keep kind of trying to think of players that were like the Nick Taylor outright bet that we had in 2020. And to me, I've kind of stumbled on Russell Knox kind of being that fit. And to me, this is a bet that if you are someone that focuses on value, and I would say in golf, like the value term of outright bets is probably a little bit overused, just given the fact that the players that are most likely to win typically do win. But I would say there is some value here with Russell Knox in this event, where it could be a higher variance event, given the fact that it's played on 3 courses, given the fact that it's a Pro-Am. And so it wouldn't be shocking for us to see someone like Russell Knox win. To start off, he does have good course history. Really good starts there. 33rd, 7th, miscut, and 14th. So pretty good stuff there. If we pull up his recent form that we would take, and I really like form like this, honestly, from a lower tier player. Like no terrible starts in there. Okay, like I will take 67, 74, 75th. Like that is saying that, sure, he might not have had his A game that week, but he also gave himself a chance to make the cut. He wasn't playing terribly compared to the field. And especially an event like this where the field caliber is down a little bit, I could easily see someone like Russell Knox, finding himself in contention, just given the fact that he does play well at this course. We look at the key stats, it would also kind of suggest that as well. Nothing too alarming about his game. Specialist-wise, ranks out top 12 in the field. And if we dial it in a little bit more, go by length, location, greens, scoring, and course style, we can kind of see where he's popping up the most. Scoring does pretty well on these tracks. course length, top 20 in the field. So really across the board, he's looking like someone that number-wise is probably a little bit too high. So we could maybe take advantage of that number that we're getting there. Could be someone that you just like cash out if he's like top 10 coming Sunday as well, if you want to. And for what it's worth, like the Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year, Justin Suh, I don't mind. I probably went outright bet him. He does have one miscut here 3 years ago. He is a California guy, has California ties, has been playing better now on the PGA Tour as well. He had been a guy that was just making cuts, but Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year, you can get him at 80-1 odds, like very similar bet to Knox. Okay, so you could bet him as well. So the long shot bet that I like the most would be Trey Mullinax, and he's 60-1. I apologize. And this is ugly, but at the same time, it's kind of why I like it. Trey Mullinax is someone that is tough to trust, okay? Just given the name value that's associated with it. If you've been playing DFS for more than really a year, you would know that. But at the same time, really played well on the Korn Ferry Tour, so it's not shocking that he is someone that's popping up now. We can see Specials data-wise, like looks pretty good across the board. Location, California courses, whatever, doesn't play well. If we look at course history, that makes me not really want to worry about the location there because we can see 28th and 22nd place finishes in 2 starts here in the last 4 years. So good stuff there from Trey Mullinax. Love the fact that he's made 2 straight cuts and they both been top 30 finishes. Stat fit wise, nothing too alarming there. Love to see that he's like not terrible in any stat. And recent form is going to be pretty encouraging for me. Okay, because really what are we looking for when we're looking at recent form kind of stats? We want to see that upside, especially with an outright. And kind of like with Russell Knox, he's really only had 1 bad start in there, and his other starts, 71st, 76th, like right around a make cut. So we'll take that. And the upside finishes 4th, 12th, 5th. This is going to be a course and a field that's going to be better for someone like Trey Mullinax for their ability to go out and win. So he is someone that I think has a great shot to win. Okay, and so to look at what my bet slip would be, it would be Andrew Putnam winning. I think that's going to be a strong bet. I just, honestly, guys, I like to continue to play people like Putnam and McNeely, guys that we've been on a bunch until they really let me down. And so I agree with that with betting as well. You look at someone like Joel Dahmen, I really like those odds. 40-1 odds for a player that's really just looking like a strong play makes a lot of sense. Maybe we don't have to bet Thomas Dietrich just with that course history. If he wins, it wouldn't be shocking. I'm willing to take him off my betting card because I want to just limit it to 7 players. I want to limit it to the top 5 or to 5% of the field. Okay, we were able to hit 14 outright winners by doing that last year. So if we can consistently do that, that's what I want to do. And so by doing that, we go with Trey Mullinax 60-1, Russell Knox 70-1. For kind of the value-based reason there with Russell Knox. Then we look at Matt Fitzpatrick and Jordan Spieth. I think those are the 2 most likely to win on the top end. And even if they win with 7 players on our betting card, we're still going to make some profit if we just bet a unit on these each. But that's all I have for you guys for the outright betting video. Let's have a good AT&T Pebble Beach betting card. Hopefully you guys have a profitable week. Let's have a good weekend as always, guys. Let's keep cashing.